Dear Lions, we are very, very happy to see you again, this time on YouTube. So, today is a very, very special day. It's very rare that I see three superstars from two superstars from South India and one superstar from North India together. We see that in movies, but today we are going to see in real life the great superstars coming together to guide you for Cognizant. I'm very, very happy to welcome. Tamil sir. Tamil sir is a legend. It's not behind a smile lies a legend full of coding and sometimes now when we started this process in VAT Bhopal, when we would have any doubt in terms of any advanced coding concept, we'll always go to Tamil sir. In terms of placement, the kind of the person that he is, it's very rare to see somebody like this and so dedicated also. So please welcome Tamil sir. The second person is Semikala Venkat. Venkat runs a program at Faceprep and he has been instrumental for any great initiative. Any time of the day, there will be one word that he says always, uh, yes, sir. And so, Sami, you will see that today also. The third person is our own Angita ma'am, North Indian pride of Face Prep, best manager awardee, and our own Ankita ma'am. All of you know Ankita ma'am. So we are very happy to welcome such a great team here. The focus of this session is, of course, Cognizant cluster exam guidance. So, why am I talking? Over to the team. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So good evening, guys. Uh, so I hope everyone are preparing for Cognizant. I would like to add few more points for your preparation, and also I'll guide you on what are the areas you have to prepare for Cognizant as well. And I've taken some sample questions as well. I'll show you those questions also, how the question looks, and what type of questions you can expect in examination, and what platform do they use. Everything I'll quickly give you a short glimpse of it. So first, if you talk about Cognizant, you will be having communication test. So when you talk about communication test, they'll be testing on
That's all done, sir. Only
all
cluster.
done. Oh, only cluster exam. Great, sir. So I'll talk about technical part alone. Great. So when you talk about technical, you have three clusters. Okay, cluster one, cluster two, and cluster three. So first, I'll quickly share my screen. I'll quickly talk about cluster one. Hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you, sir. So when we talk about technical, first we have to know what platform do they use. So the platform used for technical is Metal platform. You have heard of it, METTL, Metal platform they're using. So totally they have three clusters, out of which first let's quickly discuss about cluster one. In cluster one, they have Java, SQL, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so in Java, they'll be asking two coding questions. So totally there are four sections, right? First section you'll have coding, where you will have two coding questions. So the coding questions will be in the level of basic fundamentals of programming and like basic kind of questions. They'll give a scenario based question, they'll give input format, they'll give output format, sample input, and explanation. And here you don't want to write the complete program. So here most of us are lacking in this part. They know how to write a complete program, but they are not able to write only the function definition. For example, if I'll quickly take an addition of two numbers, maybe in Java I'll quickly take. So when we talk about Java, so I'll go for import java dot total dot star. So the execution always starts from the class and the main method. So public static void main string args. So just for the function definition, I'll quickly give an example. I'm not writing the complete code. I'll take two variables, int a comma b equal to 20. Sum of two numbers I'm going to take. So here I'm going to call a method system dot out dot println. I'll give a method a comma b. Okay, yeah. So here I'm taking a sample program of addition of two numbers. So here you don't want to write the complete code. They'll expect you to write only the function definition. Just for your understanding alone, I'm just writing this. Okay. Because most of us are lagging in this. They'll give type your code here. Okay. So in the compiler, you will not be asked to write the complete code. Instead of the complete code, here the function definition. So here I've called the function called add. So here I have defined the function. Inside this function, I have to write the logic of the program and I have to return the value. And one more thing, these codes will not be available. These codes, the codes which I'm selecting right now, will be hidden in the compiler. You don't want to write the complete code. Only this function definition alone should be written. And here, most of us are lacking in one part, saying that they don't know how to return an array list if they're picking Java. So they don't know how to return an integer value, character. So these things, you please be very careful. What is the return type they have asked you to return? Some people are aware of returning 1D array. Some are not aware of returning 2D array list. So always, whenever you're writing a program, see what is the return type they have given. In case if the return type is void, in case if your return type is void, you don't want to return a value, directly print the value. Okay, so this is what they'll be asking in the coding session. So first round is Java. They'll give two coding questions. So it will be in the basic fundamentals of programming level. It will be a scenario based question. You have to read the scenario, you have to understand the scenario, then you have to figure out what is the logic we have to use. Then you can start writing the program. The question will be pretty simple, not so complex questions of data structures, algorithms, not too depth of algorithms and all. It will be very simple questions, very basic level of questions, and two questions will be given where you have to pick the programming languages Java. The next section you'll have is SQL, where they'll be giving you the I'll quickly show you one sample question. Okay, this is the platform. This is a question which I've got. So write an SQL query to display. These are all the details you have to display. For example, order ID, name, payment method, and delivery status. So these four columns you have to display, where they'll not give you the table. Instead of table, they'll give only the schema. So when you talk about SQL, we'll be drawing the schema, right? So the schema will be given. For example, yeah, instead of a table, because you would have practiced SQL in the form of tables. Most of us will go in that way. So they'll give a question. They'll give a question. They'll give the table. From the table, what I need to print, that will get to know. But here, they'll not give you the table. The schema will be given. So here they have given option that view schema. If you click there, this schema diagram you can see. Okay, this schema will be given. You have to go through the schema very carefully, and then you have to write the query for this. You have to write the query, and then you can run query and you can check query. So there is an option here, right? Run query, check query. Then you can figure it out whether it has been passed the test cases or not. So they'll give 5 to 10 test cases they might give, and you can validate and check whether it has been passed or not. So here, view schema, query, output, and test cases. You can see. When you talk about SQL, you will have two questions. Two questions of SQL will be there. This is the second section. I'll discuss about all the sections in detail. First, let me discuss what are the sections we have. Next, coding. So when we, sorry, that is nothing but HTML, CSS, and JS, JavaScript. They'll give you a front-end project, a simple project, where I can say a project can be, if I click a button, the color has to be changed. Simple projects. I can say a cart. For example, if you are going for Amazon, you will have n numbers of products, right? When you click, it will be adding it to your cart. So the first one product, very simple one, a product will be given, or a user profile. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You don't want to write the code from the scratch. Instead, a partial code should be written by us. They will not ask you to write the complete project of HTML, CSS, and JS. They would have written few lines of code where they would have written HTML, they would have written CSS, and they will ask us to fill a partial code in JavaScript, or a partial code in CSS, or a partial code in HTML. they'll explain the question very clearly, saying that what has to be completed and what is the expected output also. So when you run the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code, they would have written some partial code. You can see some output, and they would have given the expected output also. You have to write the code to match the expected output. That is what. So remember, they will never ever ask you to write the complete HTML, CSS, JS project. They would have written something. You have to understand what is the code they have written, and then you have to fill the missed code. A partial code has to be written by us. And the last section we have in the cluster one is core Java MCQs. Now you will have a question. How many MCQs will they ask? 10 MCQs. Totally, you will have 15 questions, where 2 questions will be from programming, 2 questions will be from SQL, 1 question from HTML, CSS, and JavaScript project, and the last 10 MCQs from the core Java. So when we talk about core Java, the questions will be from basic fundamentals of programming and OOPS as well. So the topics we'll discuss in detail. This is in the in cluster one. Hope this will be clear. Maybe by the end we'll have questions. If you have any questions, you can shoot at the questions.
End we'll have the question, sir.
Yeah. So at the end of the session, we'll have a questionnaire. So this is all about the cluster one. Then let's go for the cluster two. Yes. This is cluster two. So in cluster two, same 15 questions, 4 sections, 120 minutes of time, where you will be given the programming languages Python, where we will get 2 coding questions from Python. So the same coding questions will be in the form of scenario. So the questions will be similar. They'll change the programming languages, right? Similar to that, there in cluster one we have Java. Here instead of Java, we'll be having Python. The same basic fundamentals of programming. A scenario based question will be given. Input format, output format, sample input, sample output, explanation will also be given. Here, as I have mentioned, like Java program, you don't want to write the complete program. You have to return the value. You have to return the value. So function definition will be given in Python. You have to write the logic, and you have to return the value from the function. So most of us are not aware of writing the code with functions. Please practice this. Okay. Because everyone have the habit of writing all the lines of code inside the main method. Instead of calling a separate function writing, most of us will be writing in the main method itself. So if we have practiced to write all the lines of code in the main method, for example, people always give like this. So they'll give int c, equal to a plus b, and then they'll try to print the value c. This works, but they will be asking you to write this works. They'll write all the code in the main method itself, but in the exam, especially in Cognizant, that is CTS, they will not ask you to write the code in the main method or main function. They will call a separate function. The logic has to be written in the separate method. Similar to Java, even for Python also, they would have called a method. From that method, you have to return a value. 2 questions. Next, SQL. So when I talk about SQL, you will get 2 queries. Similar to Java, what I have explained, the same questions will be asked here also. Okay, where they'll give a question, and what are all the columns has to be printed as the output value, and the schema of the SQL will be given. You have to go through the schema. You have to understand the schema very clearly. From the schema, you have to write the query. Again, you will get 2 questions from SQL. Then here, computer fundamentals, sorry, cloud fundamentals. It is an MCQ based type. So mostly you'll get 10 questions. So what about cloud computing, deployment, virtualization? From those areas, you will get some MCQs. You have to answer some 10 MCQs. Finally, you will get Python as one more section, where you will get questions from Python in MCQs. Basic fundamentals like what is meant by like looping, will get decision making, like list, set, tuples, dictionary, modules, packages, and OOPS programming out of OOPS, where the questions from OOPS using Python programming languages. Those things they'll be asking in the MCQs. This is cluster 2. Then let me move on to cluster 3. So cluster 3 is C sharp. So here it is similar like Java, but the programming language is C sharp instead of Java. So first section will have coding. So in coding, you will have two questions. In coding, you'll have two questions. Similar like Java and Python, a scenario-based question will be given. You have to read the question, you have to understand the question very clearly. Then you have to go for the C sharp coding question. So here the programming language which you are going to write, the coding you're going to write will be in C sharp programming languages. So you don't want to write all the clusters. Out of three, you would have selected one cluster during registration. You have to write whatever the cluster you have selected, that will be given to you during the examination. So here C sharp two coding questions. Uh, Similarly, you will have some test cases where you have to pass. Second section where you will have two coding questions. Two coding questions. Then you have to go for SQL. So when I talk about SQL, the same queries, two questions will be given where schema diagram will be given. You have to understand from the schema. Then you have to write the programming questions. The third section will be HTML, CSS, and JS, where you will be given a project. You don't want to write the complete project, which I mentioned already. You have to write the partial code, and you have to run the test cases. And the last section will be MCQs. So when I talk about MCQs, 10 questions will be there. You have to answer all the 10 questions. These are all the three clusters we have. So cluster 1, Java, SQL, HTML, CSS, and JS. Cluster 2, Python, SQL, cloud fundamentals. So in Python cluster, people will not have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript project. Instead, we'll have cloud fundamentals MCQs. And in the cluster 3, we will have C sharp, SQL, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So these are all the three clusters we have in Cognizant. Okay. We have discussed about the clusters. Now, what are all the areas I have to, or what are all the topics I have to prepare for coding? Okay, I'll quickly go for it. When we talk about coding, most probably the questions might arise from arrays and strings. Most probably, obviously, when we are solving any problem with the help of arrays and strings, you will have decision making and looping. Decision making and looping will be there for sure. We have to focus majorly on problems on arrays and strings. Okay, if you are able to, you would have solved so many questions earlier in the more competitive coding platform like LeetCode, HackerRank, whatever it may be. So one thing, make sure you are understanding the question, you are figuring out what is the return type that has to be given, what is the expected value, especially if there are some problems in the form of decimal values. People will not be aware. They might ask you to return exactly 2 decimal points. Float will have exactly 6, double will have 15, but they will ask you to have only 2 decimal point after the number. For example, 16.77 or 16.75 should be returned. But normally float will give the output as 16.75000000. So these are all the small tricky areas people has to be very clear of it. Okay. So those areas, please be very careful. And when we are discussing about arrays, please be very careful. Either we have to return a 1D array or a 2D array. People, those who are coding in C++, you might face C and C++. Okay, so here we don't have C and C++, so we'll not worry about it. Mostly in C and C++, the pointers concept will confuse. Anyway, we are not going to write a program in C and C++ because we have three clusters. One is Java and Python and C sharp. So Java, most probably they'll ask you to return array, integer value, character value, float, or whatever it may be, double, or array 1D or array 2D, strings, or array list. List, most probably. So in list, they might ask you to return 1D list or 2D list. So please be very careful. Most of us are very thorough with the logic of arrays, but we would have not been thorough with list collections, right? In Java, we have collections where we have to return a list, 1D list or it may be 2D list. So if you have not practiced any questions on list, practice those questions just to know how to return a list. See, we know the syntax matters. So please be very careful with the list, how to return a list, how to return a 1D list, how to return a 2D list, how to return an array. Those things, please be very careful. Then strings, obviously you can return. Most probably, this things you have to be very careful in Java. We know strings are immutable. Okay, I cannot modify a string. Okay, but I have to return a string. So in those area, take a string, convert into character array, do all the modifications, what are all the changes you have to do, and then return it as a, convert the character array into string and return it as a string. This is one thing, because some people will get confused. How to modify a string? Because I cannot modify a string. Or you can take a new string, copy. I mean, anyway, strings are immutable. You cannot modify it. Or you can take string builder class or string buffer class, because those are modified. I can modify those strings. So take that, but you cannot return a string builder or you cannot return a string buffer. We have to return only string. So whatever you're taking, finally convert the data type. This is what called typecasting, right? Convert the data type, then you can return a value. This is about Java. Okay, so here you might get some 5 to 10 test cases. Metal platform, they'll have some basic test case, hidden test case, corner cases, that case, this case, they'll have some 10 test cases. Maybe after the session, if I can get that all the test cases, whatever they are given, I'll try to share the image as well. I like sample questions I've shown you here, right? I'll try to share the sample questions and some formats also. Some formats also I'll try to give it to you. So this is all about the coding sections. Then comes the SQL. So when I talk about SQL, most probably you will get questions from joins, because joins is one major area. They are questioning a lot to the candidates, not only in online examination, even in the technical one-on-one interview. The most of the questions might arise from joins, inner join, outer join, full join, left join, right join. So those areas. So practice, because joins helps us to join the tables, right? So most questions will be there from the topic of joins, subqueries, and clauses, where like those classes we have. So we have to write and we have to return the value exactly. So what is the expected output? You can see what is the expected output. From that, you can return the values. They'll ask you to write an SQL query. Two questions will be there from the same schema diagram only. For both the questions, they'll not have different schema diagram. In one schema diagram, they'll ask you to write two queries. Query 1, query 2. So just by overviewing the schema diagram, you can figure it out. So start practicing the questions by seeing schema. If we have practiced more on tables, you might feel a little difficult, but still we have sufficient time to practice ourselves or to get ready for Cognizant. Because I have seen most of the people, those who have learned SQL via table, they would have not gone through a schema diagram at all. They'll have a question, they'll see the table. Okay, this table has this column. Both the tables have this many columns. I'll take a common column. I'll try to figure out what is the query I have to write. You'd have practiced. But here in Cognizant, they are not giving the table. For sure, you cannot expect the table. See, I've given you a sample question also. I've given you a sample question also. This is the question I'll have. See, write and I'll read the question. Write an SQL query to display the first name and last name of the instructors along with the count of the courses they teach in term 2. Sort the results by the number of courses they teach in descending order. See, here we have to sort the number of courses as well, and that should be in the descending order. We can use DSC. So we have to give the descending order. Your output should have 3 columns. So I need to have 3 columns. Instructor first name, because there was first name, last name of the instructor, and the number of courses. Sort the results by the number of courses they teach in descending order. So number of courses. These 3 columns should be given as the output value. So this is the output I need to print. So to get this output, I need to see the schema diagram. So I couldn't get a clear picture of schema diagram. Maybe if I'll share it with each and every one of you. You can go through it. See, each and every one has a table. So from this table, you have to understand what are all the fields, what are the columns I have. From this, I have to write the query. Okay. So this is one sample question. You'll have two questions from SQL. You'll have two questions from SQL. Okay. So most questions will be from joins. As I mentioned earlier, joins. Please be very careful and please be thorough with joins also, and don't prepare only joins. I think joins can have more weightage. I expect more questions from joins. Okay, it doesn't mean that they'll not question from any other topics. You'll have questions from other topics also, but joins is one such important concept I can say. By using joins classes also you can include, because here after getting the results I want to print it in descending order they have asked. So we have to know other areas as well. So you'll have to prepare SQL also, where you will get two questions from SQL. And last one is nothing but HTML, CSS, and JS. Okay, they'll give three different files. One file for HTML, another for CSS, another for JavaScript, where you have to write only a small portion of the code. I mean, project. I can say a simple project. Only a small portion of the project has to be written by us. We don't want to write the complete project. Again and again, I'm saying we don't want to write the complete project. If we have sufficient knowledge on JavaScript, obviously, if you're going with JavaScript, we have prepared for HTML and CSS. You have to understand you have to understand that and you have to go for it. Only a will be given partial code will be given. You will not be asked to write the complete code again and again. I'm repeating this. So if you are practicing HTML, CSS, and JS, I would suggest you to go for the basic projects like uh, a user profile. I can say user profile in the form of forms. So whenever we are like a registration form we are seeing, right, that you can go for it, or feedback form, whatever they are asking, right, feedback forms. These are the projects they have asked. Feedback forms. I'm trying to recollect what are the projects they have asked. Maybe after the session also, I'll give you few projects. What are the projects they have asked in the previous colleges, whatever they have asked. I have collected few questions of HTML, CSS, and JS projects. That projects I'll give you. Like profile of a student ID card. So ID card is not in the actual ID card we have. In the online we'll have an ID card, right? So that kind of ID card they'll ask. And then they have asked. So they'll have three colors: red, blue, and green. Just by clicking the button, which color I want, only that color should be displayed. Such kind of small projects. And one more thing they have seen is toggle cases. Toggle cases, yeah, we can change from light mode to dark mode, right? Maybe in hacker rank, in more of the coding platforms, we'll change our theme, even in mobiles also, right? Dark theme to light theme to dark theme. Toggle the themes. That project they have given. Just toggling the themes. There I have to write some partial code. Where they have not asked us to write the complete code, because for all the sections they have given only 120 minutes. This is exactly 2 hours. Okay, so they'll split the timings. Approximately we can expect like some 40 to 45 questions, 45 minutes here some 25 minutes here, 45 minutes here, and 10 minutes for MCQs. Some partial timing they would have given like here. So for four sections, 120 minutes. So even in 120 minutes, I cannot, even if it is a small project, it is not easy for me to complete the entire project. So they have asked only the partial code. So they have asked they have asked the partial code alone. That is why we have to go for an HTML, CSS. We have to practice more projects from the scratch. From the scratch, you have to write. Then in the project, do some modifications. That will help us to prepare HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay. If you are not aware of it, that's why I'm saying don't go for partial code directly. start writing the small projects. Some take some 5 to 10 projects. Start writing the code from the scratch. After writing it, try to modify the color. So some background color you want to change, you yourself modify it. And functionalities, try to give some additional functionalities, so that you can practice how to modify a code. A partial code has to be given, or you can practice in this way. For example, if you are a group of friends you have, you will have some projects, some basic HTML, CSS, and JS project. You can ask your friend to give his project, where he can remove some partial code, and you try to complete that partial code and make sure you're getting the expected output. This is one way, because if we have done a project, only the partial code if you are removing, you know what is the code they have written. So what is the code you have written, you will write it very easily. So ask your friend, take help of your friend, ask him to give your HTML, CSS, JavaScript project, ask him to remove some partial line of code, try to understand the uh, project, whatever they have done, and you complete it. You try to fill out what is the missing code over there, and try to make sure you have got the expected output or not. That is one way where we can practice HTML, CSS, and JS. And MCQs, obviously we have to go for the concept knowledge. If we are having sufficient knowledge on the concepts, obviously we can crack the MCQs. So we have MCQs in cluster 1. In cluster 1, we'll have MCQs from Java. So sorry, sorry guys. So from Java, questions will be from looping, decision making, arrays, strings, function, recursion. When we talk about object oriented, we will get questions of class and objects, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, exception handling, especially. So from those areas, you will get MCQs, where you'll have 10 questions. Okay, 10 questions of MCQs will be given. When you go for cluster 2, we'll get MCQs from 2 sections. One is on cloud fundamentals, another one is on Python. And when I go for cluster 3, we'll get MCQs from C sharp. Okay, so mostly MCQs will have only 10 MCQs. Okay, when I mentioned 15, two coding question, two coding question, two SQL query, one HTML, CSS project. So we'll have 5 plus 10 MCQs, 15. So in this cluster, we expect 15 questions. And in cluster 1 also, we expect 15 questions. But in the cluster 2 alone, we expect 24 questions. Because we have 2 sections of MCQs. Okay. These are all the sections, and these are all the clusters we have, and these are the number of questions we have. So all the clusters will have 120 minutes. So there is no change in the timings of the clusters. All 3 clusters will have 4 sections for sure. So 120 minutes of time will be given here. These are all the clusters majorly, and these are all the topics we have to focus majorly. Uh, Now let me go for questionnaire. Let's You can shoot out the questions. I'll answer your questions one by one.
Um, Thank you, sir. It was
Yes, sir.
a really wonderful session listening to you. So, are there sectional cutoff? Do we expect sectional cutoffs, and do we expect a time limit on each section, or is it the overall time of 120 minutes that the students can take anyway?
Okay. Sir, here in few places they have given this. I'll quickly check and I'll come back. I'm not sure, but they'll give 120 minutes. You can shuffle between the questions. I'll have a quick recheck and I'll come back. We can shuffle between the sections. There is no sectional timings, but I'll cross verify once and I'll confirm you on this.
Okay, sir.
So for whomever have returned, they don't have any sectional timings. We can jump between the sections. I'll quickly check and come back on this.
Okay, sir.
And
Uh,
sectional cutoffs, they have never ever revealed to any college. So to be on safer side, let's make sure we are getting 2 questions correct. Because they will never ever reveal the sectional cutoff to any of the colleges or any of the members.
mm. Okay, sir. The next question is about see, people are afraid of C hash and So by mistake, people have selected it, or in some cases, what has happened is that I think superset. There is a difference between superset, what they selected on superset, and what came for the exam. So how do is it possible for somebody to start studying C hash now
Uh,
and master that?
yes, sir. Because here, just the syntax alone, they have to be comfortable with C sharp. If they know how to write a Java program, they have to focus how to convert a Java program to C sharp program. That's the only thing they have to prepare. Because all the programming languages will be given a scenario based question. I need to crack the logic of the code. I have to write the program. So most of the programming languages will have similar syntaxes. Like all the programming language will have decision making. All the programming language will have looping, arrays, strings. The concepts are same, but the programming language, the syntax, like how I speak English, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, whatever I'm trying to convey, that is fine. But how, the syntax, the words might get differed. Similar to this programming languages, the syntax will get differed. So you, if I would suggest you, by mistake or someone, if you have taken C sharp, so take some 10 Java programs, try to convert those 10 Java programs to C sharp programs. If you are converting 10 programs, obviously you can write a C sharp code. It's not that difficult to convert a code from one language to another language. We have sufficient time just by practicing some. I'm saying at least 10 programs. You can solve at least a 50, that's fine. At least 10 programs I want you to solve, want to convert from Java to C sharp. If you're doing that, obviously we can clear the coding section as well.
Okay. Guys, any other question from the audience? Um, I Is there any other question from any of the students, guys? Just we'll wait for one more minute, sir.
Yes, sir, sure, sir.
Yesterday there were a lot of questions, but today, because your presentation was very much in depth, I think they are spellbound like me. So, you guys, is there any other question from your side? Okay, I don't think there is any question, but if they have further questions, they can ask in the
Yes, sir.
training as well, because the
Yes, sir.
training is going to start day after tomorrow
Sure.
again. So, thank
Sir,
you.
sir, and
Um,
one more thing. We expect sectional timings also. That alone, I'll quickly confirm with the other people and I'll let you know, sir. We expect sectional timings also.
okay, sectional time.
We expect sectional timings. First
Okay,
section, they'll give some time. We have to complete in that particular time. Then we have to go for second section, and we expect sectional timings also. But I'll quickly check and I'll confirm this to you.
okay, sir. One question from Prithvi Yash is, any insight on cluster 2 programming section? What level of coding proficiency is fine?
Sectional two. Sir,
Python programming section, what
yes, sir.
level of coding proficiency is needed?
Sir, a basic level coding is needed, sir. All three languages, a basic level coding. If we are able to solve questions on arrays and strings, a scenario based question will be given. You have to crack the logic and you have to write the code. So these are all the topics they have given here. So like syntaxes, basic data structures, functions, oops, file handling, libraries, and exception handling. See here, data structures, what they're trying to mean is not like trees graphs. It's not that they're trying to mean list, set, tuples, dictionary. Those areas they're trying to focus.
Okay, sir. Next question is from Prithvi Narayan.
Yes, sir.
He says, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I'm not a Java developer. I don't have a front end coding skills.
Yes,
So,
sir.
how to prepare for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript?
So initial, I would suggest you to learn HTML. In HTML, we have very few topics like tables, forms, headings, paragraph tag. So the tags are very simple. Like a few tags we have: heading tag, paragraph tag, center, bold, semantic. So some those tags are there. Learn those tags. Then when you go for CSS, I would suggest you to learn like flexbox, grid challenges, and box model. We have something called box model, padding, margins, those things and all, just to align the web pages. So I would suggest you to go for CSS. So initial, you can split the timings. So 3 days, 3 days, and 3 days. So 2 to 3 days for HTML, 2 to 3 days for JavaScript, CSS, and JavaScript. So they have mentioned the topics also: tags, form, element attributes, navigation, event, and media tags. When I talk about CSS, we have to go for selectors and properties, box model, and RW fundamentals. And JavaScript, you should know is most importantly DOM manipulation. That is more important. So control flow statements, function and scope, arrays, event handling. So I would suggest you to start building very basic level project. So initially, like a sample profile card. I'll give you few projects. Maybe during the training, I'll ask trainers to give you few sample projects where the output will, where you have to, what is the output they're expecting in the examination. That I'll give you. You start practicing from the scratch of the code. You start writing HTML, you start writing CSS and JavaScript. Go in that way, that you can practice it. So if you don't have any knowledge on these areas, if you start preparing today, obviously you can prepare if we have some time.
Again, students, we have the training starting on Tuesday. Initially, I was supposed to start tomorrow, but I wanted the trainers to attend the session also and prepare accordingly. So from Tuesday, we'll have the training match. So don't worry too much about it. Narayanan sir is going to address tomorrow, and we are going to get a lot of insight. So training partners are with us. So don't worry too much about it. Just don't worry too much about anything in life. Just focus, do your job, and everything will come through. Guys, any other questions, ma? Uh, Anything else that you are worried about? Tamil Selvan is actually a very Tamil Selvan sir is a brilliant trainer and a brilliant person in terms of coding as well. Um, he has observed placement for more than so many years, and he's an architect of chief technical architect of Faceprep. So you can ask any question as well.
So and guys, one more thing. See don't like it is pretty easy. You can crack it. So if you practice some questions on each and every section, obviously you can crack it. So there is no need to worry about it or to have a fear of it. We have a training program. In the training program, we'll be discussing the previous year questions of Cognizant. So you can have the taste of the level of difficulties you'll have in the examination. So the questions which was asked in previous year, the same difficulty of questions you'll have it. You can practice within the sufficient time, because we'll give you some mock test also. You can practice those mock tests where you can figure out whether you'll be able to solve those questions in the given amount of time or not. If not, during the training program we can practice it and we'll try to catch up the timings as well. And during the training program, what are all the questions we are discussing? Those are all the questions which was asked in the previous year questions of Cognizant, and we have got few questions of this year as well. The current year's Cognizant questions also we have got the actual questions. So we'll practice those questions also. Then it will be easy for us when we go for the examinations. So when we are sitting in the Cognizant examination, without a fear, with strong preparation, you can go for the exam and we can attend the exam and we can crack it very easily.
Okay, sir. So that is all the questions. I again thank Semikala sir. I thank Tamil Selvan sir and our own Ankita ma'am for all the wonderful guidance and the energy and enthusiasm. We are blessed to have FacePrep as our training partner, and we hope for a longer association. Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Tamil sir. Thank you, Semikala sir, and thank you, Ankita ma'am.
So thank you so much, sir.
Good night, sir. Dear Lens, good night, and hope to see you again tomorrow with the same energy, same enthusiasm. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Done, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Sir. Good night. Sir.